All right, here's the semi-final product of our slow roasted turkey. This is actually what we are going to end up with when we finish with step one for our slow roasted turkey that is made pet safe. So leftovers can be used for cat and dog food. And I'm going to go ahead and reverse all of this, back everything up. And we're going to show you how to open up the bird, how to take everything out that you don't want, how to keep what you do want, how to do it as safely as possible as far as bacterial contamination, how to take your gloves off, what we're gonna put on it, and where it goes and for how long. So stay tuned and let's get started. First things first, let's unwrap this bird. All right, here we go. This was well, it still is actually, a frozen young turkey that was purchased at the grocery store. I got what was available at my local market. So this is gonna be close to what is available around the US right now. Now in the past, I have done free range birds and some of the more expensive options, and yeah, they are really tasty. Right now, this is what fits in my budget. This is what I can get a hold of, and so that's what we're cooking. Again, I thawed it out, at least enough that I can mess around with it. And so we are going to peel back all the plastic. Note, I am not washing the bird. I double checked today on the USDA's website for food safety purposes, and they still highly recommend not washing the bird because yes, it's covered in bacteria. That's an established fact. E. coli, salmonella, they're just the tip of the iceberg of what can be on a bird that's been handled anywhere. It's just meat, dead tissue attracts bacteria, and it's a wonderful supply of food for them, so they multiply. So what we do is you cook it to kill the bacteria. When you wash it, you actually spread the bacteria all over your kitchen and the surrounding areas because tiny water droplets and big water droplets splash up and go everywhere. So I've seen some of the videos where they, have the special lights to see the spray and the splash zone from a bird like this, and oh, it's no good. It's no good. So no washing the bird. And I'm also wearing gloves. I'm wearing an apron. This apron, as soon as I'm done messing with the bird for today, is going to go in the wash. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to be reused because it's going to have bacteria simply from, being near it. I use gloves. If you do not use gloves, wash your hands very well before and after handling raw poultry, raw meat, anything like that. All right, back to the bird. The bird is the word. Okay, so right now I have not pulled anything out of this turkey, but first I'm going to transition it to my roasting pan. I personally am a fan of the disposable roasting pans. They're inexpensive, they're easy to use, and I like to stock up on them when they go on sale. If you have a real metal roasting pan, excellent, use it. I just don't happen to have one that I know where it is, at least. Not to say I might have one somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So this pan, all of this stuff right over here is going to go into the trash. I'm actually going to hang on to my other gloves for a minute. The pan will be washed hot water with soap, and then we can use it for other things later. This pan, you'll note that this is like the super basic disposable roasting pan. Please note the baking sheet I have underneath it. That is super important. This bird will fall through and it will collapse this baking pan. That's why the slightly nicer roasting pans have like a little metal frame in them to help you lift and support the bird as it's roasting, as you're moving around your kitchen, etc. If you don't get the high-end disposable roasting pan, just go ahead and use a baking sheet underneath and it will do the trick fabulously, I promise. Okay, back to the bird. So if you have never dressed a turkey, this is an adventure. Okay, so mine is still a little bit frozen on the inside. It was thawed enough that I could mess with it. We'll see if I can get the neck out. Yep, here it is. Okay, ice chunk, that's okay. That can go into the pan. Pulling out the neck. Now what I'm feeling in here is because, again, it's not fully thawed, It needs to be thawed enough that you can unwrap it for this first step, but because this is a few days out from when we're actually roasting it, it's okay to still be a little bit, see, icy on the inside. All right, there we go. Here comes the neck. Excellent. All right, I'm gonna put this back in here. I'm going to save it separately. That is going to be used for my pet food projects as our, okay. This is pretty typical. Always check all of the cavities. You never want to cook a bird with stuff like the neck and the organs in it. It's not very safe as far as bacterial transfer and stuff goes. That being said, I think, yeah, go ahead and take a look-see in that cavity. A little bit of ice crystals, but other than that, nothing but a hollowed out rib cage. And that's what we want. Okay, so next, you're gonna see I have 3 items out on my counter. I'm going to very carefully pull off these gloves, pulling from the fingertips on this side. Now, to take the gloves off safely without cross-contamination, I push my fingers underneath this glove while holding the other one. Everything goes inside out and into the pile. Now, what I have here, I labeled it. This is kosher salt. I'm going to use very little of it because the turkeys are actually treated in a saline solution. So this is just a little bit to help it dry out the skin. This first step is actually, okay, it's about 72 hours in advance of when you want to serve the bird, because you want 48 hours of drying time in the fridge, and then you need 1 hour of high temperature roasting, and then as many hours as pounds of turkey of low temperature slow roasting. And then you like to give it a little bit of rest time after you finish roasting the bird and pull it out of the oven. You actually want to let the meat rest, and then the juices go back into the tissue and you get just a much more tender, tasty result. And as we get into this, there are hundreds of ways to cook a turkey. This is the way that I get the best results personally, time and time again. Also, I'm not a fan of doing things like frying turkeys. I know that's a popular, quick, tender, tasty option. I'm not doing it. So this is the way I do it. I get good results every time. And so I figured I'd share it with you. Now, in this process, I'm also preparing this turkey to be used so it's safe for cat food and dog food, because even with a bird like this, turkey leftovers for people gets old after a little while, and it's a really great way to give your pets something a little bit different for the holidays so they don't get turkey all the time. Okay, so this first step, as I'm dressing the turkey, is to dry out the skin and it helps you get a crisper crust part, and then it lets everything else kind of just settle and be ready for the roasting process. So it's very simple. A little bit of salt. You can use table salt if you want. I prefer kosher salt for this type of cooking. I have pink Himalayan salt and gray salt and some other cool things. I don't use those for this type of project either. A very clean, nothing added to it, coarse kosher salt is my favorite for this, but use what you have. That's my choice on that. Black pepper. Black pepper is one of the spices that is tempered when it interacts with a fat and also high temperature. So it's wonderful for the high temperature roast part of your baking and roasting process, and it just gives a nice flavor and aroma to the turkey. And it's also pet safe, as long as they're not getting into it and eating kernel after kernel. I don't think anyone would enjoy that. And finally, right here, it is not labeled, but this is a neutral high temperature cooking oil. In my kitchen, my go-to is an olive oil, not extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is not safe for high temperature cooking. It has too low of a smoke point. However, olive oil, the inexpensive kind, mind you, that's not from just the first press of the olives, is actually very good for high temperature cooking, and I prefer it mostly for food allergy issues in our household. You can certainly use canola oil or vegetable oil or even coconut oil. That will be up to you. This is in our family, the cooking oil that I keep on hand for projects like this. All right, so kosher salt. Here I'm using bare hands. My hands are clean because they've been inside the gloves. And I'm going to take just a little bit and sprinkle it around. And it's pretty established, but I'm gonna go over the fact that salt helps draw water out of things. So it will help speed along our drying process of the skin. And if you've never done this particular slow roast process that includes the rest time in the fridge, it's gonna be a little strange to open your fridge for a 48-hour period and see a naked turkey looking at you. But the good news is the bacteria does not jump off of the turkey and onto the rest of your food. So as long as your turkey is not touching anything else, everything in your fridge is just fine. It actually doesn't smell either. I know, strange, but it really doesn't. So I've done my pepper, I've done my salt, and then I'm gonna put some oil on. You can do this right before you roast it. I'll probably do it again then. Just a little drizzle. These gloves go on. These are my looser food handling gloves, and I like them because they're very easy to take on and off. And just massage everything around just a little bit. And I'm gonna repeat this in the next parts of the video. So again, if I want a turkey that is ready to serve Thursday afternoon, I'm going to start this by Monday evening at the latest. So if you get your bird on Sunday, if it's frozen, you want to get it thawed out so that you can start this process on Monday, and then you will have a turkey by Thursday afternoon ready to serve. It's have rest time, roast time, all that good stuff. But please remember, if like us, you're wanting to use this bird for pet food, or the leftovers for pet food, there are two things that you do not want to, well, technically, let's go with three things that you do not want anywhere near this bird or what you're using for the animal food, and especially if you're cooking it for cats, and that is garlic, onions, and citrus. So lemons, oranges, limes, that type of thing. With garlic, I had to look this up because I wasn't quite sure. I knew it was toxic for cats, but what it does is it thins their red blood. It breaks down a particular type of chemical bond in between the red blood cells so that they just fall apart, and the cats become anemic, which means they're not getting enough oxygen to their tissue because the red blood cells they're just like falling apart, and they don't want to flow through the veins and go where they need to go. So no garlic for the cats. And really no garlic for the dogs either. It's a cumulative effect. You think about like a cat at the most, 8 pounds. Well, some of us have bigger cats, but at the very large end, we're talking 15, 20 pounds, or a 7 or 8 pound cat. It doesn't take a lot of garlic to begin this sort of toxic effect in their bloodstream. So it's best to avoid it completely from what I've read. That's just based on the scientific studies that I've read. Onions are in the same family, and they have the same chemical compound that causes that reaction. Now, for the citrus, avoid that because cats cannot handle citric acid. There's other types of acids that they can handle in their diet, and it's fine for them, but citric acid and their system is no good, and it can kill your cat. So no citrus on the turkey, no garlic on the turkey, no onions on the turkey. You can have it in your dressing, you can have it, in all your people food. It's great for you, but it's not good for your pets. So we will not be adding garlic, onions, or citrus to this bird because we're gonna have it for us, but we're also gonna be able to use the carcass and the giblets and the neck and all the skin, the bones. We're gonna use all of that for our pet food that I'll do a separate video on. So this is part one of preparing a turkey. It is a slow roast process. Very little labor, but you do need to plan it several days in ahead. So again, if you want a Thursday bird, you need to have this step done by Monday evening. So stay tuned for part two. And part two will take place after this has been in the fridge for 48 hours. And when I start that video, I'll show you what your bird will need to look like in the fridge. And you'll be like, oh, that's ready? And yes, it's ready. It looks, because the skin dries up and kind of sucks to the bird, and you're like, this is gonna come out tasty? Yes, it will, I promise it will. It comes out so good. So this bird, let me move my gloves. And these giblets, I'm going to put them in a container so I can save them for when I am cooking everything down for the cat food. I personally don't use them in gravy. I was raised in a household where all this stuff was chopped up and used in the gravy. I don't. I prefer to save it for the animal food, so that's what we're gonna do. So again, it will be put back, sealed up in a container and put back in the fridge until I'm ready to work with it in a few days. But final step for this process is going to be putting it in the fridge. I have already cleared room. That is a big step if your fridge is anything like mine. And here we go. This is going home in the fridge, place of honor. See how nothing is actually touching the bird? And again, the germs are not going to come jumping off of the bird onto everything in your fridge. The contamination happens when something touches the meat, gets bacteria on it, and then touches something else. So if nothing's touching, you're good. So, bye-bye turkey. We'll see you in a few days. So, again, that's the end of part one, or step one of the slow roasting turkey. Again, for a pet safe leftovers, holiday bird, whatever you want to choose to do it for. And stay tuned for part two, which will need to take place in about 48 hours.